Hello, listeners. Today, Ravi and JAM speak with Dlzar Al Kez about the impact of heavy users, such as AI data centers, in the power grid stability. Dlzar is a researcher on net zero infrastructure at the University of Manchester and an associate editor for relevant media, such as Springer Nature. In this episode, we talk about invisible megawatts in the grid. And please, do not forget to subscribe if you aren't yet. Ravi, Jose, over to you.
Thank you, Ava, and welcome, Dlzar, for joining the Energy Trilemma podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the invitation and being here.
So,
Thank you, Dlzar. Thanks for joining.
Let us start with the same question we asked to all our guest speakers, which is, please share with us a fact or figure related with the energy trilemma that you think is interesting for the rest of the audience. What do you bring us?
I actually want to open with a number that really puts things in a perspective based on IEA. By 2030, global data centers and AI is driving a big part of this, are expected to use about 1,000 terawatt of electricity every year. And that's about the same as or even more than the entire annual electricity use of a country like Japan. AI isn't just a new technology, it is a new class of industrial consumer. And here's the real wake-up call that we received from the latest NERC white paper. These centers aren't just a huge consumers, they can wrap up their demand by hundreds of megawatts in a second without warning, without giving any visibility or warning to the system operator. And that's 21st century behavior being fed into a control system built for the 20th century. And if we keep ignoring that mismatch, it will break the system. Why does this matter? Actually, and this is really important because our planning model still assumes demand changes in a smooth, predictable state. So in minutes, not in a second, but AI data center behaves more like uncoordinated generators, and they're hiding off the grid's radar. They notch the frequency, swing the voltage, and cause trouble before anyone in the control room even realizes what's happening. So here's the uncomfortable truth about it. Without the visibility, coordination, and scheduling rules we have effectively handled actually in the past 100 or even the grid over the private. But now we are handing prediction to the private algorithms. And that means we are no longer fully in control of the distribution system, especially electricity is a public good. But right now, private algorithms are writing part of the rule.
That's a very interesting point, sir. So I think you are describing how modern loads and how load behavior is actually emerging, largely due to the behavior of AI-powered data centers. And I think what you're saying is they disconnect or shift demand without warning, right?
Yes.
So in this context, it often leaves the grid operators blind. In conjunction with what happened in the Spain-Portugal blackout, where low inertia and grid-following inverters hindered recovery, how do you see these invisible big loads compounding the grid instability issues?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Actually, big loads aren't just a consumer anymore in the power system. They operate in their own right, and some of them can move faster than the grid can even think about it. I'm talking about AI data center, hydrogen electrolyzers, crypto farms, and even more advanced industrial sites. These loads can swing by tens and sometimes hundreds of megawatts in a second due to the training of the model or other things, all on their own control logic. no dispatch instruction from the system operator, and no warning, and often no visibility in the control room until after the fact. Here's what the problem starts. First, they can be invisible, which is the main issue that we had in Spain as well in the blackout. We had some small scale distributed generator that were invisible to the system operator while they were injecting reactive power or behaving in a different way. These massive loads, they can be invisible if they are not reporting in real time. Operators don't see the ramp until it's already stressing the system. And second issue, they can be uncoordinated. Multiple sides reacting independently and can compound a problem instantly from different areas. And third issue, they are often in the wrong places with respect to the power system wellings, because many sites currently are placed for tax or land deals or local governments of our business deal, for example, not for the grid strength. Now, the fix isn't banning them. We are not saying we want to ban these large loads, or they are part of our future economy. The fix is making them part of the grid family. That means location rules, so they don't cluster in a weak pocket, or if they cluster it, they must be planned well in advance. And the ramp limit of these loads need to be scheduled, so their shifts are predictable and manageable. And the third point that I want to make is mandatory visibility. So system operators or power system planners can see and coordinate their behavior. Because without that, we are letting private algorithms dictate the public system stability. And when those two goals don't align, the grid will always be the loser here.
It is scary, sir, but now the Spanish grid operator, to enable the stability, is limiting the renewables, increasing drastically the curtailment, is planning a lot of additions of batteries, and is doing a lot of actions to improve that stability, prioritizing one of the three, let's say, points of the trilemma, which is the energy security. So now energy security is becoming national security and is, let's say, is on top of the electricity price and on top of the sustainability. So my question is net zero still feasible after the example of the Spanish blackout in the different countries?
Yeah, thanks, Jose. For this question, net zero, I say net zero on a paper. That's easy. But net zero on a stable, reliable, and resilient grid, that's the real challenge we are as a power system facing. And Spain just showed us we are not there yet. The blackout in Spain wasn't about running out of power. They had plenty of renewable generation and megawatt in the system online. What failed was the control and stability layer. The wrong asset tripped. The right one stayed connected but fell out of step, and the local voltage support then later collapsed. That's the anatomy of the modern blackout. And here's the link to the net zero, the question. To decarbonize, we are replacing slow, heavy fossil fuel synchronized generators with fast inverter-based renewables and storage systems. These are essential elements in the power system, but they don't behave like old machines. No natural inertia, voltage support driven by software, and interaction with the grid that can be unpredictable under stress. Spain's April 28th event happened in exactly that kind of high inverter-based resource environment. So here's the risk. If we keep running the 21st century renewables on the 20th century operating framework, we will end up with the system that are clean but brittle. The only way net zero is operationally viable is if we match those renewables with the system strength mapping, local voltage resilience, and the grid forming synchronous generators or grid forming capability that can react as fast as the disturbances we face today. And here's the lesson from all these. Net zero without stability is just fragile, but with the right engineering, it can be both clean and resilient. You can tick the net zero box on a paper, but if the grid can't hold it, its shape during the fault and under stress, it will not hold public trust as well. And without public trust, net zero will not hold at all, in my opinion.
So, how should grid operators adapt visibility tools and forecasting systems to regain control?
Yeah, currently, what we have, the energy security isn't just about having enough megawatt in the system, actually. It's about having right system architecture so you can take a hit and keep standing. So there are three things modern grid absolutely needs, in my opinion, of course, and none of them are optional. First of all is the real-time situational awareness. You can't secure what you can't see. So we can't secure the system if we can't see all the elements and the edge or the corner of the power system. This is something happened in the Spanish power system as well. There were things or small-scale distribution generators were not visible. So operators need full visibility into inverter-based resources, even at a small scale, into fast-moving loads like AI data centers, hydrogen electrolyzers, and storage fleets as well, and to live mapping of the system strength. Because without knowing where your weak spots are, you are basically flying like a blind. So the second thing is local resilience by design. And most of the blackouts don't start everywhere at once in a power system. They start in a weak pocket, maybe low system strength area, maybe a reactive power shortfall in an area, and then spread over the power system, all the power system. And that's why you need a strong local voltage control, grid forming inverters, synchronous condenser, targeted reactive power support, all ready to contain a disturbance before it cascades across the system. And third is the flexibility resources you need. We need actual control over them. Flexibility is often sold as a magic cure for instability. But flexibility without coordination, that's just a chaos moving fast. So demand response, storage, and distribution generation, they all need to be dispatchable, schedulable, and tested under real-world stress, not just good on a paper and simulation. And here's the bottom line. If we don't build those three pillars in from the start, energy security will stay reactive, scrambling to patch things up after the disturbance. And that's not a real security. That's just hoping the next hit isn't too big, affecting the power system.
But to build those three pillars, you need a lot of money. And probably some of those investments will end up in, let's say, tariff increase or electricity price increase. Do you think that we are mentally prepared to that? Are our politicians teaching citizens to understand that in some cases, fixing the energy trilemma means paying more for the electricity?
You mean the public understanding of the grid stability is, I can say, not even close. Most people think outages are just rare accidents. or they blame a single technology, usually renewables. But here's the truth, is it is not renewable that causes the instability, in my opinion. It is the rules and unprepared grids. The reality is that many blackouts are system failures, coordination gaps, policy and blind spots, and the lack of visibility all lining up in the wrong moment. So without the public understanding, we will keep actually designing policies that look great on a paper but fall under real stress. We should be like talking about the grid stability the same way we talk about aviation safety, for example, as a discipline that's constant, rigorous, solid, and non-negotiable, not just as a crisis response. When something breaks, we start to respond to the crisis, but we need to plan for it in advance.
Okay. So in your view, how can we make sure that these invisible mega loads, AI data centers and electrolyzers actually strengthen the grid instead of destabilizing it?
Yeah, we actually, in my opinion, we are playing with some outdated regulation in a power system in our environment at the moment. Most of our grid codes and market rules were built for a world where demand changed slowly, generation systems were centralized, and stability was almost automatic. And that world is gone, in my opinion. Now demand can ramp in seconds under software control. And generation is increasingly inverter-based resources with voltage and frequency behavior actually decided by algorithms, not big spinning machines that we use to them. And distributed assets can appear or disappear faster than operators even spot them. And the danger isn't just that the rules fail to keep up. In some cases, they actually create risks. We have got connection standards that assume a stability margin which no longer exists in weak part of the grid. So we have got market incentives that pay for megawatt hour, but ignoring the value of voltage, ignoring the value of fast frequency response or system strength. I'm generalizing this, not in a particular power system. So I'm generalizing most of the power system. And here's the problems. Right now, market pay for energy, but not for the stability. Until that flips, we keep undervaluing the very qualities that keep the lights on. We have got planning frameworks that still look at the average demand instead of the fastest ramp rate we might face. So if we don't upgrade or update these rules to explicitly value their resilience, to price and enforce stability like we do for energy, then we are basically inviting instability into the system in a different way. And here's the point I want to leave you with on this question. The rules that once kept the grid safe aren't failing because of the neglect. They worked for the grid we used to have, but today's grid is different. They are operating in a different way. Now we need to upgrade the rule book to match that physics of modern power systems.
That's a hot topic. For example, in Spain, the parliament didn't approve the update of the regulations. So the grid is constrained because it's not supported by the new regulations. So we are right now on the edge again. But let me finish, Dlzar, with a last question, as we do with all our guest speakers. If you had a magic wand to unlock the energy trilemma, what single change would you use it for?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. If I had the magic wand for the energy system, I would make stability as valuable and as visible as a megawatts. Right now, our market rewards how much energy you can produce, but they barely reward or even measure the qualities that keep the light on. If I could rewrite the rules tomorrow, here's what I would actually do. First, every asset, big or small, doesn't matter, would have a stability profile. We would know exactly how it behaves under voltage swing, under frequency dips, or in weak system conditions. And that profile would matter as much as its capacity in the system. And the second magic is the flexibility would be managed, not just encouraged. Because flexibility without control, it is just a chaos at speed. If you want to provide flexibility, you had to prove it supports system stability under stress. And the third, we would plan for the weakest part of the network first, not the average. That means local voltage support, grid forming, inverter capabilities, system strength mapping based on synchronous inertia and other technologies. They are needed most at the moment. Do that, and this energy trilemma stops being a balancing act. It becomes a reinforcement loop, secure because it's stable, sustainable because it's clean, and affordable because we are not paying for preventable failures. That's the system I would build if I have the want.
Okay, Dlzar, thank you very much for sharing your expertise with our listeners. We'll follow you on social media and we'll read all your posts that are very interesting. Thank you very much, Dlzar.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We hope you liked this conversation. Follow us on LinkedIn or subscribe for free to the podcast on the platform of your choice, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, or Apple. Because in the next episode, Ravi and JAM will speak with another expert in the industry to unlock the energy trilemma.